Edward had been working in the Knapford yards and decided to stay at Knapford sheds for the night. But when he got there, Bill and Ben were arguing. According to the others, it had been like this all night. "Enough, you two," said Edward. "What's all the trouble?" "Ben pushed me into some cars and knocked them off the rails," cried Bill. "But Ben pulled me into a coal hopper. The coal went everywhere, and I had to be cleaned in and out." "Well, apparently you two need a lesson," remarked Edward. "Luckily, I have just a tale." And this was a story he told. A long time ago, before we were an established railway, the Fat Controller tried a Ginty onto the railway. Unfortunately, he was ill-mannered. No one was excited by his presence, as there would always be trouble when he was around. He would often derail trucks in the yard while shunting them. Even the worst of the trucks despised him. One day under the coal hopper, I puffed to him and told him that if he doesn't change his ways, he will face the consequences sooner or later. "Oh, forget about it, Grandpuff," he told me. "Nothing scares me out of my ways." Until one day when we had to take a train in stormy weather. It was the first time any of us had seen him worried. While his driver was filling his sandbox, the engine asked him, "How bad will it be?" And the driver responded, "Not enough to handle you, old boy. Now let's go. We can't be late." And they took off. They powered through the wind and rain, trying to get back to Knapford as soon as possible. By the time they had passed through Knapford, the rain had turned to a downpour. His driver could see it. They were approaching the goods platform and started to apply the brakes. But to both of their horrors, the brakes wouldn't work, and he thundered through the depot. "When will I stop? What will happen to me?" cried the engine in fear. They were then switched onto an old disused line. He thundered through the sidings, not seeming to slow down, and then they noticed the end of the line. The engine's brakes suddenly applied with full force, and he came grinding to a halt just behind the buffers. Oh dear, he sighed. What a relief." Then his driver reversed him away from the siding and out into the middle of the old harbor. "We're going to get help," said the driver. And him and all of his crew left to get help. "That was a close one," he sighed of relief. Then suddenly he heard a noise. "Who's there?" he asked, trying to sound brave. "It was I," replied a gritty old voice. "Belkin!" The engine tried not to scream in fear, and would only shake from fright. "Oh, what are you doing here?" asked the engine. "Oh, I've been here for a long time," replied Belkin. "I was left here and abandoned." "How? What did they do?" asked the engine curiously. "Not what they did," said Belkin. "What I did. I was deemed unusable by the controller. I caused too much trouble," he continued. "I derailed trains, delayed trains, and caused confusion and delay. I never changed my ways. Eventually, they parked me in a siding and left me there, and never returned. But now, you're here. The engine everybody talks about when they puff by, and from the sounds of it, you're just like me," Falcon said gravely. But I'm not like you," stammered the engine. "I can change!" "That's what I said. I was still abandoned here," grudged Falcon. "Those crew members left me, but they're coming back for you." "You're no better than me. You belong here!" screamed the rusty old engine. He then rolled himself forward and knocked the Ginty off the rails. "Bust my buffers!" yelled the engine. And then he looked towards Belkin. Belkin was reversing towards the end of the dock at full speed and fell into the sea. He was never seen again. But the engine was speechless, not able to blink, speak, or cause trouble. When help arrived, they were most surprised, not sure how the engines ended up in such a state. Shortly after, the Fat Controller made the Northwestern Railway and sent the Ginty back to the mainland, who swore to never cause trouble again. Although to this day, engines feel nothing but dread when they pass by that old harbor. And some say they can hear a ghostly whistle and a big splash into the sea. "Oh, we're sorry," squeaked Bill and Ben. "We'll try not to cause any more mischief." "Good," puffed Edward. "Now, I need my shut-eye. Good night." Bill and Ben worked hard to not cause any more trouble for the rest of that week, and everyone slept peacefully in the sheds every night. But if the story was real or made up by Edward to scare the twins, no one will ever know. But some do say they could still hear that ghostly whistle plunging into the water at the docks. But I don't think the twins will cause mischief. Do you?